All right, so first let me start this video by telling you just some of the mishaps of the past couple days. Yesterday when I was making my coffee, I spilt the milk in my coffee mug when I was trying to pour the coffee in it all over the counter. It was a big mess. And then this morning I had spilt milk while I was trying to drink the milk out of the cereal bowl, like a caveman, and it's all over my shirt. You might still see some stains on my shirt. I'm just leaving them there because you know what? I don't care. And then last night, the worst was I went to bed later than my wife, and so I'm in my room trying to take off my jeans in the middle of the night, and I hook my foot, in the jean leg when I'm trying to pull it off, and fall in between my nightstand and the bed, just making a huge racket, to which my wife just startles awake. It's like, are you okay? Are you okay? And I'm moaning because I banged my elbow, I banged my knee, I banged my face into the bed. It was really embarrassing. And maybe you've just had those kind of days as we have been sheltering in place. And that might describe just what's happening with your life right now. It's like there's sheltering in place, and then there's all of these unintended consequences, I feel, or all of these ripple effects of going through that. There is the pain of that, and then there's all the other types of pain that are occurring. And right now we want to recognize that some of our pain might feel a little trivial, and it may not be the same as somebody else's. I was just speaking with someone who just lost a family member. And so I'm thinking, wow, my pain in falling down in the middle of the night in my bedroom, it seems rather trivial compared to someone else's. And so I want you, though, that whenever we're discussing pain, that we don't just trivialize our own or compare it in light of somebody else's. In fact, we're just taking a look at suffering again. And I want you to come away with this bottom line for this teaching, this very brief teaching today, is that I want you to look into your suffering, I want you to face it, and I want you to find the God that's hidden within. Look into your suffering, face it, and find God that's hidden within your suffering. Some issues may be trivial, but our feelings surrounding our pain and our suffering are not. They are not. And so I want to ask you this question, and you might want to post it in the comments. What ways do you experience suffering and pain? What are you currently complaining about? In the story of Job, Job has lost everything. And there's a moment there where his wife tells him in Job chapter 2 and verse 9, are you still holding on to your integrity? Curse God and die. I mean, if anyone is supposed to comfort Job, you would think that it would be his wife. I'm so grateful for a spouse that whenever I have felt down and lost and wayward in this whole mess of sheltering in place, protecting others, but yet being restricted in movements and with my social distancing. We are physically distancing for a reason, but it can be discouraging. She's been there to comfort me and strengthen me. I could imagine that if you are already sheltered from other people, and then some of the people that are with you, if you've lost so much, and then the person that's supposed to be giving you encouragement does not, how isolated, and that feeling of abandonment, how that must be a terrible feeling. Look, we are all in some way suffering because our feelings may magnify the pain. But here's a myth that is going around for not only our country, but for people who are experiencing such loss, either personally or a loved one, is that no one suffers in a bad way unless they really deserve it. Like, no one suffers unless they really deserve it. There's some ways in which we cope with the suffering and the pain right now. Well, you may have heard this before. If someone's breaking up, I'm hoping that as we're sheltering in place that marriages are strengthened, but I know that some people are maybe in abusive relationships, or some people may be in a relationship right now that's causing them pain. And if a marriage ends in divorce, people cope with it in this way. We never really loved each other anyways. We also cope with death and saying, well, they're in a better place. Or we also cope with a painful experience by saying, I've really learned a lot from the whole experience. But I want you that in the middle of the suffering to not just maybe find a way to cope with it or rush to victory so quickly or try to find that hidden truth within the suffering. I want us to look into our suffering and find God hidden within. And then also there's something that happens as well, that whenever we're looking into pain and suffering in the world, because people are dying, people are sick, people are on respirators, people are fighting for their lives right now. Whenever in the midst of this, sometimes our colloquialisms, sometimes the way that we seek to try and see the God working the good in things, we can make the mistake of naming a bad thing good. So we don't want to, as people of faith or just human beings, to name a bad thing good. Because this is a bad thing. We need to name it as a bad thing. COVID-19 and the global deaths and people losing jobs and people who are on ventilators right now. I wouldn't dare say that's a good thing. But the way that we interpret it is that God is working in the middle. There's also this myth that pain is to be avoided at all costs. There was this headline that I once read in a story about a school that banned students from having best friends so that they would avoid hurt feelings. This is from a headline from March 2013, that in southwest London, in Kingston, southwest London and Surrey, students were discouraged for pairing off in primary schools to spare the children the emotional pain of breaking up. Now think about that. Think about that for a moment. That in order to avoid the loss of a breakup, that they just outlawed having best friends. And sometimes that's what we can pray for, or that's what we can do in our faith, or as a human being, we would value safety and security over witnessing the gospel or serving our neighbor. And so we need to be cautious, but yet we still need to be bold. We need to be cautious, but yet we don't need to be afraid. Why do we fear disease? Why do we fear sickness? Because most diseases are feared because of the pain surrounding them. I mean, what's horrible about a painless disease? But yet there is some experts that have been studying leprosy, one of them being Dr. Brand, and in part of his work he talks about pain as being a gift. Because in leprosy you lose the ability to feel in your extremities. It's the gift nobody wants, the gift of pain. But without pain, being able to feel pressure or being able to feel heat, you can burn yourself, you can hurt your fingers, you can cut yourself and not know it. You know, sometimes we want pain to be switched off, but then when it's switched off, then there aren't any boundaries that can help protect us. This is what Dr. Brand says. He says, "Thank God for inventing pain." He says, I don't think I could have done a better job. It's beautiful. You know, for people who have lost the sensation of pain, they've really tried to replicate it, but any man-made technological advancements to replicate our nervous system and our pain receptors has failed. It's hard to live life without feeling pain. I mean, ask an Olympic weightlifter what he thinks of pain. You know, he quickly forgets about it even though he experiences it. Ask any mother who has experienced the pain of childbearing. She quickly forgets it so that she could produce life once again. That's what John 16, verse 21 through 23 says. A woman giving birth to a child has pain because her time has come. But when her baby is born, she forgets the anguish because her joy for that child that is born into the world. So with you, now is your time of grief, but I will see you again, and you will rejoice, and no one will be able to take away your joy. That even with the gift of pain, it allows for us to have a fuller experience of joy and gratitude. Augustine says this: everywhere a greater joy is preceded by great suffering. And this is the theology of the cross, that the cross is the ultimate statement of God's involvement with man this side of heaven. Accept the difficult thing. And rather than trying to change it or use it, look directly into the pain, call a thing what it is, instead of calling evil good and good evil, because God is hidden in the suffering. Listen, the experiences that you gain from this, they don't come upon you by accident, but for children of God, we choose to interpret the activity of God in this world maybe differently than someone who's looking for someone to blame, or who is looking for that one single teachable thing amidst the pain. But we're not looking for the what or the how, we're looking for the who. We're looking for God in the middle of our sorrows. Look, what's the purpose of these trials for us? Well, I think there's many purposes, but one thing that we know that we can gain through it is this fuller appreciation for life and for the life of another, and a fuller appreciation for the life that God gives us through Jesus Christ. And our love increases even as our sorrows might. And our joy abounds even as our pain increases, that we are able to, through the trials of life, have endurance, patience, character, and hope. So I want you to practice this, that in the middle of your suffering, look into it. Face your pain and suffering. Don't try to dismiss it. Don't try and just jump looking for that golden nugget of truth. But find God hidden within, and His presence is what is going to carry you through this. And when the new normal comes, after all of this weirdness ends and the pandemic is over, and the new normal comes, I believe that we will be able to look back while looking ahead and find that God was with us the whole way through, and that He shaped us through and through. Thanks so much for watching. Okay, I'm grateful for your presence here. If this video has blessed you, if this teaching has blessed you, say it in the comments. Share it on your social media timeline. Share it with a friend who needs to be encouraged in the middle of the suffering. So I want you to be well, do good, serve with love, and lead with courage. And we'll see you back next time.